Kitco Mining special coverage of Xplor 2024 is brought to you by Radisson Mining Resources.
Welcome back to Kitco's ongoing coverage of Xplor 2024 in Montreal. My next guest is Killian Charles, President and CEO of Brunswick Exploration. Killian, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So it's been a year since we've spoken. I know you've been doing a lot of interviews, a lot of press, because you've had a lot of news. So, but first, can you just catch us up again on what Brunswick is all about?
Yeah, so look, Brunswick Exploration is one of the premier lithium exploration companies out there. We combine a sound exploration strategy with cutting edge technology and plain old rock pounding. You know, it's something that people don't fully appreciate. We're able to efficiently test our targets all over the world. And we are going international now with a discovery in Greenland. But we're able to use new tools like a PXRF, tools like LIBS, all these new devices that have come into exploration over the last 10 years, and deploy them in such a fashion that our team, instead of waiting weeks or months for assays to come back from the lab and understand the potential of a particular target in the field, they're able to ascertain that opportunity directly when they're standing on it. And that allows us to completely change our exploration approach, because instead of doing some field work, waiting, and then fingers crossed and having to stay small, we can really push the envelope and take on thousands upon thousands of targets across the entirety of Canada and in other areas, again, international as well, and just shift through so many targets. It almost becomes a numbers game, and that's something that people don't appreciate. You know, mining exploration is tough because you have such a low success rate, and we turn it on its head and say, look, we know it's going to have a low success rate, so let's start with a big number. That gives us the best chances of making not just one, but many discoveries.
All right, now, and what is this chain of technology? Because this is a little bit unique. Like you said, you're starting from a much, much wider, you're treating entire regions of countries as potential areas for exploration. And then you're quickly narrowing down, and then you're also getting the results on the ground a lot quicker than others. So how is that? How are you saving this time and this energy at every stage?
So, you know what? We'll start from a broad area, you know, just based on geology. This is a prospective area. We'll tie in then on satellite imagery, because the rocks we're looking for outcrop on surface. So we're looking for white rocks in satellite pictures. We'll go to old maps from the 1950s when they would look at those things. And then we'll start off with a slew of targets. We'll directly land on there. And then we're able, with these tools, these new tools, look for geochemical markers directly in certain minerals on the rock. And the presence of those markers allows us to filter and say, no, this has no potential, or yes, maybe this might contain some lithium. And this ability is done nearly instantaneously. And it's a staggering step change in terms of exploration, where we can be so much more efficient than if we were exploring for gold or for copper or for other commodities. You know, it allows us to go back to your point, to take on these massive regions with the confidence that it's not going to take us 10 years to do it. It's not going to take us $50 million. We're going to be able to be fast and at a low cost and make discoveries. You know, that's what people forget. We like to make discoveries, and that's the point of an exploration company. It's to make discoveries, and that's what we do in Brunswick.
All right, now you've had some significant discoveries. So obviously you've got projects across Canada, and in March you announced a slew of new projects, including, as you mentioned, in Greenland for the first time ever. So tell me a little about this international opportunity. How did Greenland come about?
So, you know, when we were taking a step back, we obviously saw massive potential in Canada, specifically in Quebec, specifically in the James Bay. I mean, I think that area is going to supply all of our needs in North America for lithium. The amount of discoveries with our Mirage asset, Anatacau Main, Anatacau West, you know, we're demonstrating ourselves and the industry that this is the place to be. But we believe that there was more to be found. You know, lithium is an industry that has only seen true sustained exploration for the last 5 years at most, outside of Australia. And that means there's staggering opportunities out there. And when we took a step back, we said to ourselves, well, what other areas is the geology also pointing us to? And when we looked at Greenland, it's never been explored for lithium, truly. Definitely not in a systematic fashion. And so we said to ourselves, well, the rocks are good, the potential is there, everything that we want to be looking for is present. Let's go try it out. And we've leveraged our expertise that we had honed over the previous years. We leveraged our new technology, and sure enough, within 20 days in the field, on the very last day, we go ahead and make a discovery. I mean, that's exactly what you want to be seeing when you're a geologist, when you're an exploration company, to build a hypothesis, to go ahead and stake it, to test it, and to be rewarded for it. I mean, that is a very good feeling.
And what is the jurisdictional or governmental, the permitting environment in Greenland like? Because obviously you're very familiar with Canada, North American jurisdictions. What do you see as the challenges or the opportunities on that front once you do make a discovery in a place like Greenland?
I'd say Greenland is a very pro-mining country. Obviously, things need to be done correctly in the right fashion, but they have a history of approving mines. There's a moly mine that just got announced, or just got approved, I should say. There's a gold mine that's moving ahead as well. It is an area where there's a clear relationship between the government, its communities, the First Nations. Everyone wants to move forward and develop the nation, build new mines. It's an area that has fish, snow, and rocks. And so rocks is something that they definitely want to, we'll say, monetize to a certain extent. And we really believe in the potential, and I think it's an area that people don't think about enough in my mind, and we're really excited to be adding that to our investors, or exposing our investors, I should say, to this new area, that we see a bright future alongside the rest of our portfolio in James Bay.
Right, so returning to Canada. So Mirage is Brunswick's flagship project in Canada. You also announced some very encouraging results from the summer drilling program. So tell us a little bit about that. How is Mirage looking coming out of the summer?
So Mirage let's take a step back. Mirage was a discovery that we had made last summer. So we've just crossed it's just over a year, it's still a little baby. And we've obviously had to navigate some tougher lithium markets, but we've done so in a sustained fashion. We've continuously moved the needle, outlined larger and larger pegmatites, always near surface. It's an area that we have barely scratched the surface after roughly, 12,000 odd meters of drilling. Now, as you said, we've done our summer, so it's another 5,000 on top of that. There's a lot to be growing there. It's in a very interesting area. If we drop a pin on Mirage, you're within 100 kilometers from Patriot, 100 kilometers from Medina. So, this is an area that is truly a world-class district for lithium when you think about the asset base that's existing in it. And it's still early days. We're still growing it. We're going to be slowly gearing up towards probably a winter drill campaign. We have more targets to do, more expansions. It's only been a year here, as you point out, since our last interview, and as well since our discovery at Mirage, right?
That was last year's latest news, and we've got a lot happening in the last year.
Every drilling that we've done has demonstrated that it has all the hallmarks that you want to see for a real lithium discovery. Tick wide, good grades. We're now working on the metallurgy. We expect no surprises on that front. It's, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but you want to keep it simple, when it comes to defining flagship assets. The more complicated it gets, the tougher it is to move ahead here.
And I guess the advantage of your approach is if you're doing this type of analysis over a very, very wide area, then you can really hone in on the strongest of the strong prospects.
Look, it's always the way I've seen it. People may look at 50 different companies, and we tell them, look, we're one company looking at 50 different projects, right? So we offer that leverage that people may not fully appreciate.
So also you mentioned kind of good neighborhood, good neighbors. You also had highly encouraging results from the Anatacau West property, which is right near Arcadium's James Bay lithium project. So this was just a couple weeks ago. I think this is the latest we've heard from you guys. So how does this change the prospects for Anatacau West?
So Anatacau West is a really interesting project. To say that we're neighbors with Arcadium's James Bay project, obviously Arcadium now in the target of Rio Tinto. So it's actually the continuation of some of that deposit. They literally have pegmatites that go from their ground onto our ground. That's what we drilled in spring 2023. We drilled at least 3 different pegmatites up to 25 meters wide. And I mean, you're within 100 meters from the property border with Arcadium. And so, we had drilled what was visible from surface, but we knew that there was more opportunities along the rest of that particular project. What we did during the summer is we did a till program, and sure enough, it highlighted a number of spodumene grains in till, which is the same principle as gold grains in till, which is indicative that, hey, there's going to be more here along this trend. We have a few at the border, but there's more on our property. And to have neighbors that are putting this asset into production, now having Rio Tinto, if everything goes well, acquiring that project on top of that to further move it along. I mean, it's a good asset to have here in our back pocket in an area that's seeing a lot of interest. And then we also have our Anatacau main asset, which we made a discovery there last year. It's 22 kilometers to the east. I mean, that's the way we like it. We like to have our hands in multiple different things here and offer our investors multiple different opportunities.
All right, now, because you mentioned it, I just wanted to get a little bit of a sense from you of how lithium prices, how the lithium market is and isn't impacting what you're doing at Brunswick. So obviously we've seen lithium hydroxide, lithium carbonate prices falling over 80% in the last couple of years. We've also seen tariff campaigns in Europe and in the United States against EVs, which is the first thing people think of when they think of lithium demand. So what's your read on the demand situation for lithium?
I think it's valuable to spend a lot of time on the EV front, but I think people are shortchanging themselves when they think of lithium demand in such a constrained fashion. When we think about decarbonization, the green transition, it's a multitude of concepts, and probably the most important one out of all of that is power generation. A significant amount of global power is from coal, gas, and diesel. And so transitioning out of those into energy such as solar, which requires an energy storage solution, such as lithium, that has a staggering potential for lithium demand. And that's where I really see the future as things evolve here. The best example is, let's say, China. China had a 2030 renewable energy objective, and it met that objective this year, 6 years ahead of schedule. And they didn't do it so much out of goodwill, yes, but they do it because it's cost effective. It's cheaper than coal. It's cheaper than all the other potential energy sources out there, and it's scalable, and it requires an energy storage solution next to it. And that has a staggering impact. Doesn't matter if you're in South Africa and faced with brownouts, you can install solar. Doesn't matter if you're in Florida, people are installing solar panels all over Florida to the point where it stabilized their grid. It's impressive to see the changes that are rapidly coming on that front due to the cost effectiveness. And that has a number of impacts, where it be it copper, be it silver, obviously lithium. I invite everyone to look on that side. Solar, renewables, it's moving a lot faster than people realize, and it's going to be coming at us in a way. We're going to wake up one day, just like the same thing with smartphones. We went from before the iPhone to after the iPhone, where all of a sudden everyone had one. And I feel we're getting on the cusp on the same thing when it comes to solar panel. It's cost effective and it's scalable. And all of a sudden we'll look back and be like, wow, that kind of happened fast. Over 5 years, we got solar panels everywhere. That time is coming, and that's going to create a lot of lithium demand. So yes, lithium markets are tough right now, but I think everyone agrees that if you look on anything beyond the ultra short term, the future is bright, and that's why you saw Rio Tinto look to buy Arcadium, right? they're not buying Arcadium for tomorrow. They're buying Arcadium for 2027, 28, 29, 30, and beyond. That's where a lot of people want to place themselves. It's for that future. Everything points towards decarbonization being successful. It's going to be a very bright future.
All right, and speaking of the future, so I think we've pretty much caught up on a lot of this year's news, though, even up to the last few weeks. What are some of the milestones we should be looking forward to, I guess, for the rest of this year and for 2025, looking forward?
So look, we've got more drill results to put out around Mirage. We only announced roughly half of it, so there's going to be more around that. We're obviously into next year. We're going to be looking at doing a winter campaign at Mirage. There's a number of targets that we're finally going to be able to get to because it's going to be winter, which improves the access, surprisingly enough. And then there's going to be a major push in Greenland. Obviously, in my mind, this is just but a teaser for what we can do in Greenland. I think there's more discoveries to be made. We're the only group exploring for lithium out over there, and we like having that advantage, let's put it that way. And we know we can deliver more on that front.
All right. Well, sounds like there's a lot going on once again.
It's going to be fun when we chat in 2025. Let's put it that way.
Hopefully before this time in 2025. Maybe we should be touching base with you in the next few months.
I would recommend it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I'm Ernest Hoffman for Kitco. Stay tuned for more coverage from Xplor 2024 in Montreal.
Kitco Mining special coverage of Xplor 2024 is brought to you by Radisson Mining Resources.